Guys, you can look into the cover letter and you can start asking questions. Okay. So you can start asking questions to Mr.
Good morning, this is Arpita here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I wanted to know more about the projects that you have worked in and how it has benefited the organization.
You want to know about the?
Projects that you have worked with
Okay.
and how those projects have benefited the organization.
So good morning, Arpita. The since I worked, the currently I'm working for also. So I'm working for SDFC Life. So I've been working for a project which is called TEBT, that is Transformation Enabled Business Technology. So earlier, what happened that as you know, this is an insurance business. There are various stakeholders involved in this particular business cycle. So earlier what we are doing, majorly we're depending on the manual, you know, giving manual task enabling. So suppose if a sales is getting us some inputs, some leads into the system, that has to be manually taken by the respective departments. So with this technology, what we are doing is it is in a system integrated technology where the every department can pick that particular application and it will be step by step. So how it works is with this project, what we are doing, the work which was done earlier, whenever we are logging an application which has supposed to be processed or executed, which takes almost a week time, 7 to 10 days, it has to be has been reduced to 2 to 3 days maximum. So how it happens is first earlier in the earlier stage, the organization whenever we do an application, then manually it has to be given to the different department. But now what happened once the application is processed, then application move to automatic to the next level. So in that way, this application. So here I how I'm doing is continuous requirement gathering is happening, continuous requirement because the continuous needs are coming from the market, from the sales team. So there's a regular. So as of now, I'm working on a feature which will help us, our sales team, to even reduce this time period from 3 days to 1.5 to 2 days. So we are working on that feature. So in that way, with this, the efficiency has been increased for the organization. Productivity has been increased from the sales team side. So in that way, this particular application is helping the HDFC Life organization to have a smoothing process with a better efficiency.
Okay. So what methodology you used for this project?
In this, we are working on agile methodology only because this helps because there are regular and the regular change requests are keep on coming. There are lot of stakeholders are involved in this project. So because this methodology will help us to uh, do changes or whatever required to accept those requirements whenever required, and we are showing those requirements as output also at an immediate basis. So which Agile is helping us. This framework is helping us to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have any experience in waterfall methodology? Sir?
Yeah, waterfall methodology. Earlier organization, I was working for a company where called Edify Internship, where I was in a part of a CRM application. So in that application, we work because it's a small organization and the project was very small. So everything was fixed, like it was not a big application that a CRM application which are available in the market. So I was into a waterfall model where it took almost a year time to execute this application. So I was part of that. So I worked with Agile methodology.
Okay. So during this project, what were your major achievements?
So during these projects, a major achievement, if I talk about the current organization, so I, picked up from Pan India. I've been picked up for this project, which was a major achievement, seeing my earlier contribution towards the organization. And in this project, I based out in Hyderabad, and I am assisting one of the senior BA sits in Mumbai. So um, why me? Because the the domain knowledge what I have in insurance sector is deep because I worked for almost 15 to 16 years into this sector. So that helped me out to understand in and out of insurance process. So while working this project, especially in the TPT, I've been recognized, one of the best, employee for having a feature or having that application. See, this application was there earlier, but a few of the integration where I was a part of that project. So I've been, recognized as one of the best and this business analyst into the technology department, who has contributed from not from the sales side perspective. Also, I have given a how it looks like, and from the technology side also I've supported. So I've been, he played a key role in this particular project. That was a
Yeah,
major achievement.
yeah, okay. One more last question I'm asking. Like, as you said that during this agile project, you have gone over many changes. So, give me example of one change request that you have went through and what were your like approach to that change.
Please, can you, your voice is a little getting echo, so can you repeat the
Yeah,
question, please?
I wanted to know only one example of change request that you received and what was your approach to handle that change request.
Yeah. During working for this CEBT application, so there was a change request while working on this project. So we have received one request that this while executing any one single, see how it works is a department from an operation team, one agent picks this application. So while executing that, when he picked that application, we can see when he picks that application, he has to mention his logs. There is a logs where he has to capture the time and date and time that he has picked the application. He claimed the application. But what happened was that when another department, like the next guy who has to pick the application, because from the operation team, this application has to move to an underwriter. So what happened that for an underwriter who has to pick the application, the request came to us is that how much time, what will be the tag he will be there, that application will be there with that particular agent during that period. He want to see the time. So that request came in between while the requirement has been gathered. So the feature working into a particular sprint. So what I did is when the request came from the underwriting team that what will be the TAT of that application which will be there with an operation team. So I first, I understand, I would evaluated that the requirement what the UW department is asking for. So then I do my one-to-one interview with that particular department, the stakeholders who are involved in underwriting team, how they want this particular feature and how that has to be enabled. So by having that request, so at the same time, the team which is working in this particular Scrum, we made their mind that whenever the request comes in, so we have to accept it depending on the priority or the importance of that particular feature. So I've taken that request to discuss with the stakeholders who are involved in this particular project, important stakeholders, understand what will be the impact, because for every change request what we are taking, we have to understand what will be the impact on the project, because there are various constraints are uh, constraints are there, like the scope, budget and time, whether it is deviating that how much deviation I have to take by accepting this request in between. So if it is within the threshold, so I'll accept and take a necessary approvals from the stakeholders, and we will mitigate this accepted criteria during this process, and which will be added to the next scrum, next sprint, which will be coming up. So in that way, I have handled this change request, which helped us to enable that particular feature which was not taken up before the this particular business need was decided.
Yeah, okay. Actually, while doing while handling a change request, we should do the means we should go through three analysis: impact analysis, as you already said,
Mm.
feasibility study, and we should also do the effort estimation. We should also think from the developer's point of view that whether due to technical difficulties they will be able to complete the project or not. Otherwise, I was completely satisfied with your answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from your end, guys? You can ask. So, Mr. Varuna, so in your projects, is there any situation that you need to deal with the conflicting stakeholders? Have you faced any such situation in your projects?
Uh, yeah, so the current organization is a big organization. The various stakeholders are involved. So conflict is the regular challenges which I face during this project because few of the stakeholders are, in every project, for every BA, there's always a conflict arises between the team, between the different stakeholders. So specifically, if I talk about, there was a one stakeholder who comes from an operations team. He was little adamant on the particular feature that by doing this, so there will be but that will increase, rather it will go down. So there was so what happened by doing by such conflicts, the time and again there will be a lot of gaps which are coming up. So what I did is I sat with him, understand what where he's coming from, discuss with the technical team, a project manager that this is what. This is the regular, what we call it, it's a regular practice where we have to handle, and even at the same team, I handle a big team as in from here also from the current organization. So I know how to, negotiate, how to come up with the, solution for those. So those analysis I understand. So it's all my practice is always that to sit with that particular stakeholder, understand with him, in line with his requirement with the business objective what we have. So it's a regular process on a day-to-day life in any of our.
Hi, Riro.
Yeah,
Could you please explain the complete UAT process?
UATX process.
Yeah.
Sorry, I remember.
Sorry, you didn't do any UAT,
Uh,
user acceptance testing?
did it, but see, user acceptance test, I did it. See, normally in this organization, that particular part, I'm not involved in UAT test, the current organization. So it's just, overview what I'm doing to whatever the feature is been decided in the while gathering the requirement, whether it is coming like as per the client requirement, it is available. So I'm not involved in deep in UAT test, the current.
Have you participated in?
No.
No. Okay, that's fine. So could you please explain the SDLC?
Yeah, SDLC is a framework which is called as software lifecycle development lifecycle. So in this particular SDLC is for any project which we take in our. So it's typically to help us to understand the process in a structured manner. So which is developed for efficient development. So typically there are different phases of SDLC. We have a planning, we have a we have to plan it, then we have to define those requirements, those objectives, then the next phase comes is that how to design it, Then development team comes on with development, testing, and maintenance. So these are the major phases which are there in SDLC framework, which help us to guide to develop a software application. So whereas in under SDLC also we have different methodologies like we have Waterfall, Agile, Scrum, Kanban, and B model. These are the major methodologies which has been used under SDLC.
Yeah, I think you should explain very clearly in STS. You know what are the stages in the waterfall, like that,
So,
the planning, requirement gathering, requirement analysis, design, coding, testing, like that.
so that is why I said if I can divide it because I said there are phases of facilities planning where we gather the requirement. We first of all we plan what the objective of this organization, why we are doing it, why these changes came in, and then we define those requirements through various elicitation techniques. We define it, and during this phase, we validate these requirements. Then the next stage comes as a designing of the architectural developers who are there to how this design will be, how the interface will be, so various prototypes and mock-up options which are available, and then the development team works on these requirements and they come up with the application. And post that this will go for a testing that whether that this application is as per the need of the requirement of the client. And then lastly, the main important, the maintenance part, which is time to time, whatever if any additions are coming up or the regular, changes or updations of the performance, which is being taken care by the maintenance phase for any SDLC.
Okay. Then, what is Agile Manifesto, and what are the uh, four main principle? So, four main values and 12 principles.
The principles of agile for any BA, which I and normally tell that is typical which are available as think as a whole. So BA should understand the enterprises need very carefully where the pain point of this client. So we have to prioritize those requirements. So that is as think as a whole. Next main principle comes as a think as a customer also. So we have to be as a BA, we have to be in the shoes of as a client that how is demand, what is his demand, to understand that the change what he's expecting, and the feasibility also at the same time to understand the feasibility, how feasible that particular change is. Then the third one is what value this particular change to analyze what value it is been given. So as a BA, we have to understand that we have to show the demos, the feel factor. We have to do a retrospective session. So we have to give show the what a value it will give to the enterprises if we implementing this change. Then as a BA, the important part is the wastage should be very minimum. The zero wastage should be there. So less documentation, which help us to give a better output. So these are the major values which are principles which are used by a BA in Agile methodology.
Yeah, okay. That's all, Maya.
Hello.
Yeah. Right.
So, how can you say that requirements is good or perfect?
Yeah. So requirement is good or bad. Like for every VA, this is the basic, or you can say this is the minimum expectation what any organization wanted. So every so typically, if we are writing, if we are giving a right requirement or the right solution which will ensure that the needs of the enterprises is fulfilled. So typically, a requirement should be considered a good or perfect unless and until it is clear, actionable, and verified. So for this, we use a technique which is called SMART. So this help us to give a good requirement. Typically, a SMART defined with a specific, S for specific. This is this requirement help us to in a detail, specifically, give a clear understanding to all stakeholders. Uh, Through 5 Ws, we used to use like who, what, when, why. So with this help, we specify the particular requirement which is required. Next is achieve measurable. So measurable is the requirement which it gives us a specific requirement, specific metrics, certain KPIs which has to be used under this acronym. So that will help us to meet that. It often involves that whether that particular requirement which we are giving is it testable or not. So it has to be measurable. Achievable. So if it stands for achievable, this requirement is more on is it a realistic, or whether it is attainable within the project constraints. So and our next comes to our relevant. So this whether is this requirement is aligned with the business goals, the objective which we have defined in the earlier stage. So that should be very relevant, and time is time bound. Uh, as for any a business goal or any objective, there's always a time bound which is has to be defined very importantly. So for every if it is we are working on agile methodology, in the specific sprint what we have discussed, it had this requirement should be have a defined timeline so that it can be achieved and delivered. So, in addition to this, if I say that while writing any requirement, it should be in a simple English. It should be, the continuation should be there from starting to end, so that we can give a better result and better clarity to the development team, so that they can develop without any apprehension, without any ambiguity, because those requirements which we are capturing should not have any ambiguity. There should be very clear, um, crisp, detail has to be documented. So with that, we can understand whether the good or perfect, those can say that.
Okay. And what are the illustration technique you have used in your projects?
So majorly, I believe the second technique is typically interviews, personal interviews, a few workshop, and the past documentations related to that particular project, if it is available to have a detailed study on that. So these are the major, illustration technique which I use, which I think works in any methodology.
Okay.
Any other questions from your end, guys? Thank you so much, Mr. Kavita.
Yeah, thank you.
Adish?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Can I display your cover letter?
Yes.
Yeah, just a second. Let's see. Can you see the cover letter, guys? Is it visible to you all? Guys, I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, okay, fine. Please look into the cover letter and you can start asking questions to others. Yes, you can start asking questions.
Hi, good morning. Can you explain about your project and what is the role you have handled?
Yes. My latest project was a wealth cube, which was a financial and wealth management application. Uh, it was an in-house project of this Kotak Mahindra Bank. See?
Guys, please be muted. Sudarshini.
Sorry for this.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah,
you can
go ahead.
continue.
Okay, what I was saying, my latest project was a wealth cube, which is a financial and wealth management application. Basically, I announced project of this Kotak Mahindra Bank Limited I am involved with. This project basically provides a feature of investment portfolio management and goal setting, making the financial education awareness to the resources available to the bank, which is basically the sales team. Earlier, sales team were unable to see all the complete portfolio of the customer at one place. They actually have to log in into different portals to see every single detail of different investment holdings which the customer is having. So Kotak Mahindra Bank thought because now banks are moving to the brokerage side to make their revenue. So Kotak Mahindra thought we should have an application where we could provide a facility of portfolio management services. But for that, they need a portal where their sales team can actually see the current investment holding and the interest and the returns customer is earning in order to provide a better suggestion to the customer. This project I was doing with the agile methodology, the Scrum framework, and I've been responsible for the requirement gathering and analysis part. I was preparing this BRD. Then uh, I was the one who was responsible to conduct and like initiating various sprint meetings also. Moving prior to that, I was employed with the ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company, where the project was CRM. And this project I have also done with the Agile methodology only. This project was basically to keep a record. It actually provides the centralized customer information, which helps the salespeople to improve the communication customer. They this application basically provide a holistic view. Like this provides the sales team to personalize their interaction and deliver better customer experiences. Prior to that, I was associated with this SDFC Bank Limited, where I have been worked on the CRM application only, but it was an enhancement in SDFC Bank. The methodology was Waterfall. The enhancement which was included in this CRM, the existing application, was to process the non-financial instruction which customer is providing in physical to the branch. So it was taking too much time to process, and it was affecting the cost revenues because including the operation and the backend team. So SDFC Bank thought that if we could provide any online portal where sales team or the bank representative can initiate this non-financial instruction, and customer will get the link and they themselves will fill the correct detail and will submit it, and the that to complete that non-financial instruction will also reduce to 24 up to 48 hours. So this key feature included automation of this operations, improved the data tracking, and like enhancing communication tools for the customer service. So these all are the projects which I was involved in.
Okay. In 3 years, you did 3 projects, right?
Yes,
Okay. So you prepared the BRD, right?
yes.
So can you explain about the BRD? Where you have prepared, if for which project you prepared BRD, and what exactly the BRD is?
In my earlier stage of my career, when I started as a business analyst, I was not actually involved in preparing the BRD. But yes, in my latest project, WealthCube, I actually prepared this BRD. So BRD is a very high level document which includes the clear concept of companies, the organization's statement, goal, what are the needs of that company, why this project is initiated, and the approval from the product manager or different stakeholder or the department included in this BRD. This BRD is basically we can consider as a communication tool which helps anybody to look upon and get the clear view of why this project is initiated and what is basically this project is all about.
Okay. And we can also few other points like we need to define the project objectives, and we'll also talk about the in-scope functionality, out-scope functionality, and we'll also talk about as a system. So before initiating any project, so you need to understand the project, right? What is the existing process that the client is having, and what are the limitations that existing process is having, and how do we provide a best solution for improving their existing process. So those things will also be mentioned in the BRD. And also we can talk about the constraints and assumptions. So these things we can also mention.
Okay, I will.
So, and did you prepare FRD?
Yes, FRD was also one of the documents which I was looking after in WealthCube.
But fine, fine. So what is the difference between the business requirements and functional requirements?
The basic difference or the most important difference which I can tell is in BRD, it contains all the complete information that what are the functionalities, what are the non-functional requirement, what are the environment or the security or the safety this project is going to have. But in FRD, we consider this only the functionality requirement of this project, that which all are the main requirement of the functionality requirement of this project is going to be documented into FRD.
Okay. So the BRD is basically the high-level statement. So where the client is having actual needs. From the BRD, so we will define the functional requirements. So how the functional requirement is nothing but what are the solution that we are going to provide. So how the system is going to behave. We can see.
Yes. Got it.
And have you did you does any gap analysis or feasibility study in your project?
Yes, I've been performing the gap analysis from this CRM and the WealthCube. I was part of the team who was initiated the requirement gathering, but before that, we need to study the business analysis. So yes, I have performed this gap analysis.
Can you explain the difference between the gap analysis and feasibility study?
Yes, if we talk about the gap analysis, it is basically analyzing the gap between the current state uh, of that organization and their desired future state. So what is the current business process is there in the organization, and what is the like their desired process, their requirement for the future. So analyzing this gap between the current and the future desired state is basically the gap analysis which are performed. And if we talk about the feasibility study, so feasibility study is nothing but it is like analyzing the project which we are going to do. It is like it is achievable or not, whether it is the requirements are uh, can be turned into technology or not. Analyzing all this thing, the the what estimating this building cost or making every analysis into the technology or the whether it is budget or the time frame in which that project needs to be completed. So analyzing all this, whether this project can be done or not, is a feasibility study.
Okay. So, what are the core values of Scrum, Ajay?
Okay, enough. The four values of this agile methodology Scrum framework is like we consider individual and their interaction over the processes and tools which we are actually following into the other methodology. And in agile we consider this working software is
Yes, so,
my
sorry to disturb here. See, what I'm asking you is, how did you implement these core values in your project? And see, I'm expecting a meaning from this. See, instead of stating like giving a statement.
okay.
So, what is the meaning of it? Suppose you are saying that individuals and interactions over process and tools, right? So, what is the meaning of it, and how did you implement in your project?
Okay, so like the first value is individual and interaction, given preferences over the process and the tools. So what we do in this agile, we with the development team involved with the stakeholder, we actually consider the face-to-face interaction, the ideas or the thoughts, the opinions being said into the team is given preferences over the in other methodology we are following the processes that we should go phase by phase. So instead of that we do the discussion part, and if there is any opinion been given, that is considered and is discussed within the team that whether this opinion is the best or not. And if we see in the project into complete SDLC, we have a various documents to maintain. So in Agile, this working software, working deliverables are considered or given preference over maintaining a various documentation part. In Waterfall, we actually maintain the different uh, documents from the beginning, like requirement gathering to the deployment and uh, implementation part. But in Agile, we consider that working deliverables are being delivered quickly into and completed into the sprints. And if we talk about like if there is a problem within the team, or some suppose the stakeholder is have the new change request incoming. So with that we don't go for like we negotiate the contract that this will not be included or this is not going to happen. In agile framework, it is basically working on this customer collaboration. If there is a change request coming even in the late in development, we can consider it and we can go for the analyzing the change request. And if we talk about the like how in other like in waterfall methodology, in the beginning only all the requirements are being gathered, and later on it is being developed and reviewed. Later on no change request is welcome. But in agile, the stakeholder are well and involved in this development part, where the development team can directly interact with this stakeholder. So we give preference to the customer collaboration also. So these are the four values uh, of this agile framework.
Okay, actually, it was, your voice was breaking. So fine, I think I heard, a few points. That is correct only. Fine. And yeah, can you explain about meetings? What are the meetings that we have in Scrum?
Yes, we have this various meetings being done into this agile Scrum framework, which I start with saying this daily Scrum meeting. Basically, this happens every day, where team gather and they actually discuss that what they did yesterday and what they are going to do today, and what is going to be done tomorrow. After that daily Scrum meeting, there is another meeting which is actually done before the sprint is started. That is a sprint planning meeting. In this, the team actually decides that what they are going to develop and deliver in this sprint. So each user story, whichever they decide, is taken from the product backlog to the sprint backlog, and the team start working on that. Post this, if we talk, there is a sprint review meeting. This happens when the sprint is completed, when the sprint is ended, and the team actually give demo like the user stories they have completed, and this team explains that how they have developed and what exactly they have developed after this sprint. And at last, there is a sprint retrospective meeting, which is basically can be considered as a lesson learning session, because in this team discuss that what has went well in this sprint and what and what areas of improvement require the future sprints. So these are the meetings which can which happens in this agile Scrum framework.
Okay. Yeah, I'm done with my questions, and any other can take on this. Yeah, thank you, Akish.
Thank you, Stan.
You mentioned, hi, this is Arpita here. So you mentioned your experience in documentation like BRD, FRD. Do you have experience in any other documentation?
Uh, no, I don't have.
Okay, did you prepare like assist testers in test case documentation and RASI matrix?
Yes, RACI metrics I have prepared. I have prepared the test data cases.
Yeah, so can you briefly explain about test case document?
Which document?
Test case document. And do you have experience in user case documentation?
Sorry, I didn't. User
Case documentation, UCDs.
user case documents. No, ma'am, I have the experience of this RACI and test case data.
Okay, so can you explain these two documentation?
Yeah, in test case data, when we developed this deliverables, we actually invited the stakeholder and asked for the uh, means we inform the stakeholder that this user story has been a functional requirement have been developed, and we invite them to take part in this test test testing part. So we actually in test data cases, we actually ask the data to be inputted from the stakeholder so that we can perform this test data. And in this particular document we actually have the details of particular project, uh, which is nominated with the test case id, the name of the test case, and the scenario, like what is what this test is all about. Then we have this the expected behavior that once this functionality has been achieved, the deliverables have been done. So after inputting this data, this is expected behavior or expected result which is going to come. And then we have the record of the actual behavior of that test data. And then we have whether the that test is successful or not. And then we have the remarks that whether this requirement is successfully accepted or not.
Okay, so what about Raximetrics?
Resimetrics is like preparing and maintaining a document with the complete information about the stakeholders or the people or the team who all are involved in the project, and it can be considered as the uh, like responsible. Suppose the main company, my Kotak Mahindra Bank, was responsible for this Wealth Cube, my latest project. So, like that, who all other people are responsible, accountable, and the people who can be consulted. And this document also contains that who all are the people are being informed about this project. So these details are basically documented into RACI matrix.
Okay, so you have experience in UML diagrams, right?
Yes,
So can you please tell me like which all UML diagrams you have prepared and what tools you used for those diagrams?
I didn't hear the complete question. Uh, I listened to that the UML diagrams you are involved. After that,
Yeah, so yeah, and which all and what all tools you used for those UML diagrams?
okay. So I was into basically two main diagrams. The first one is the use case diagram, and the second one is the activity diagram. And the tool which I've been using to draw the diagrams was the MS Visio.
Okay. So explain more about MS Visio and both the diagrams how you prepared.
Okay. MS Visio is a tool which helps us to draw the required document test cases, sorry, with the complete understanding, making the functionality, the requirement into a pictorial representation. So this is done into various forms, which is a use case, or can be done into activity part, activity diagram, or can be done into sequence diagram, or can be done into flowchart form. But the most I was using was the use case and this activity diagram. So use case diagram was nothing. It was drawn with perspective of the end user. The use cases, the basic functionality, how the end user is going to behave with the interface of that application. It is going to explain. And in activity diagram, it is basically drawn with the system perspective, that the project which we are going to develop, how that system is going to perform. Means the process wise, the stepwise, how the particular system is going to work is represented into this activity diagram.
Another thing I wanted to add, like in use case diagram, we have like how the actors are interacting with the system, how actors will behave with the system. And in use case diagram, it shows only the positive flow. In
Yes.
activity diagram, there are no actors involved, and it shows the flow of the process from one function to another function. Here, we do not mention the actors' interaction with the system, and it
Yes.
also shows the negative flow also. So you can add this.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So one last question I wanted to ask: what is the difference between wireframe, prototype, and mockups?
Difference between wireframe, mockup, and prototype.
Prototype. Yeah, exactly.
Uh, if if we talk about this mockups are nothing. It is basically can be considered as the blueprint overview of the uh, exact application or the web page going to be developed for that application, the project. And if we talk about this prototype, this can be considered as the more advanced look-alike web page or the application, because in prototypes we can use random data that is entered, and if there is a particular button or switch been given, and if we click on that, that will actually move or take us to the next uh, home page or the next step. So we can consider this prototype as the most advanced representation of the project which is developed. But in mockups, we don't get this option to enter. This is just to represent that how this web application is going to done, and if we click on this button, then this will happen. And if we talk about the wireframes, sorry,
Wireframe is the most basic feature before prototype and mockups. It is like drawing
hello.
or like using. Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
hello. Yeah, wireframe is the most basic one for creating, like explaining the screen to our stakeholders, like a basic pen and paper drawing.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Okay, that's it from my side.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from your end, guys? Okay. Thank you so much, Atish, for your participation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.